So in the Hayom Yom for today, later you'll take a look at it inside, even though you might have looked at it earlier. At the end of Hayom Yom in today, for the 18th of Kislev, it says, L'shana Tova, b'limud ha'chasidus u'v'darkei ha'chasidus tikosevu v'zechosemu. May you have a good year. It's the same Shana Tova that we wish each other on Rosh Hashanah. In the study of Chassidus and in the practices of Chassidus, may you be written and inscribed. So, number one, the Rebbe, our Rebbe, cited that. I don't know if he originated that language or it was the previous Rebbe's. I think it was the previous Rebbe's, but regardless, the Rebbe who put together the Hayom Yom in 1943, I believe, he inserted it. So that's very significant. Significant that he's telling Chabad Hasidim worldwide for eternity, L'shana Tova. So this isn't a game, like some out there tend to laugh and ridicule saying L'shana Tova on Yutes Kislev, because Shana Tova, as Moshe Drucker will tell you, refers really to Rosh Hashanah. And we are in the month of Kislev, the 18th, 19th Kislev. What are you saying, L'shana Tova? Right? And the Rebbe writes it. And the explanation is simple. That this is the anniversary for Pnimius HaTorah, for the inner dimension of Torah. It is Yutes Kislev. It took the form of the Tanya of Shneir Zalman ben Baruch, who disseminated Chassidus in a manner called Chabad, hence the Chabad Chassidim, the Chabad philosophy, using the intellectual components of the mind to come to the same conclusions as the predecessor and the founder of Chassidus, the Baal Shem Tov, the holy Baal Shem Tov, taught, Einoid Milvadi, there's nothing besides God. If there's Hashem b'simcha, serve God with simcha. Many other basic Hasidic teachings, Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence on every iota in creation, even when a leaf turns over from the right side to the left side. All of these are basic teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. The Alter Rebbe, the Tanya, the one who was celebrating Yutes Kislev, expounded it and opened it up in a manner that the mind can also grasp it and understand it. So, the Alter Rebbe's chidush, it was a novelty, is Shana Tova. It's a new year. Yes, it's a new year for this way of thinking. So we're bringing here today about this concept. So what is different this year? Manishtana Hashana Zu Mikol Hashanim Shelefneza. What's different this year, Yutes Kislev, than all other years? And before I answer the question, one needs to ask themselves the question. And guess what? One needs to ask themselves the question daily, how am I different today than yesterday? Yesterday I went to work. Yesterday I did try doing business. Yesterday I studied. Yesterday I taught. How is this day different? There is a verse with Yosef over there with Matavakish and Yaakov. What are you looking for? And he says, Loimar, to say so and so. So one of the Hasidic Rebbes, I think the Kotzker, gave the interpretation that one needs to ask themselves daily a question: what is new? Lomar, what's your new thought today? That's the secret to staying young and vibrant, is to think daily from the moment you get up throughout the day. How is this day different? So too with Yutes Kislev. What's the difference this year than other years? So I thought about the Parsha. The Parsha is Vayeshev Yaakov, Be'eretz Guri Olive, it's Canaan. Yaakov dwells there, and And then we have the whole story of the dreams, beginning with the dreams and everything else first with Potiphar, with Joseph. A lot of important lessons. But at the first pasuk, the first verse, Vayeshev, Rashi says, Bikesh Yaakov Leshev B'shalva. Yaakov sought to sit peacefully. Kofza Olav Rugzoi Shel Yosef. God made the wrath of Yosef fall upon him, which means all of a sudden is combobulated with all kinds of mishigas and accusations, and all of a sudden, as we say in Eretz Yisrael, a balagan. We're talking about the father, because he's the father of Yosef. So if Yosef is experiencing all of this mishigas, it impacts the father. So Rashi says that Yaakov wanted to sit, just let me sit peacefully. Finally, I'm able to sit and have no stress, or less stress, and to study and to learn and to enjoy family and time and pleasure. Hashem says, no, Yaakov. You want peace, tranquility? I'll show you. Now here's the question. Why did Hashem do this? Yaakov wasn't, so the simple answer to the question is, get off your loins and get moving. But you're talking about Yaakov. He wasn't playing golf, okay? He wasn't getting up 2 o'clock, like I read about this maneuver, this Assad. He would get up, I think it says 2 o'clock. He was like, Yaakov was a Jew, a patriarch, a student of God. He was serving God. He was working. So what do you mean he wanted to sit in peace? What does that mean? And God says, no, you're making a mistake, Yaakov, and therefore I'm going to make all these issues with your son that's going to impact you because he's your son and you're upset that your son has all these tsaras, all these issues. So this year, in thinking about this is the thought that came to me. The problem is with the first word, bikesh. Sitting in peace, tranquility, shalva, there's nothing wrong with that. Because the shalva of Yaakov was a holy shalva, was a meaningful peacefulness and tranquility. The problem is Yaakov bikesh. Bikesh means he wasn't content with what he had. In the sense that if he had a bad day, he was upset and he was searching and looking and saying, God, give me peace, give me tranquility. That's a problem. You know what the problem is? If God sends it to you, then you have to take the situation as it is and make of it godliness. Not say, without saying the words, but thinking, God, how can you do this to me? You're wrong. I'm trying to serve you. I want to have menuchas hanefesh, peacefulness, and you throw me all these tsaras, all these balagans. So the problem isn't with the shalva, the problem is with the bikesh. And just to take it, down to our life and our level, because that's what a Fabrengen's about, not just thoughts in the sky. Always, we're always confronted with Rugza Shel Yosef. The wrath of Joseph, the problems are constant. Have you found a man that doesn't have problems? If you have, he's not human, he's not normal. The way this world works, as it says in Pirkei Avos, elaborated in Tanya in chapter 27, is the norm is problems. Not the norm is tranquility. The norm is problems. If the norm is problems, then you understand that it's not that I need to reject the problem. I need to take the problem and use the problem for serving God. That's an accomplishment. That means someone is a strong person. That's a person who has their life together. And I am sure those days when we succeed in this avoda, Isser, then we're happier that day. Then we're more pleasant. And people like being around us. Those days when we don't accept the problem and we fight with the problem and reject the problem and we're unhappy, those are the days that are our worst days. And that's what happened over here. Bikesh Yaakov Leishav Bashalva. Yaakov, don't bikesh. Accept the problem. If today's a peaceful day, great. If today's a balagan day, just as great. But you don't want to remain in balagan mode, because if you're in chaos mode, in chaotic mode, it's messed up. It's problematic. So fix the chaos. And I say this with the Tanya. If you think about Hillel, the Alter Rebbe's life, and you think about what he did and what he had to go through, you see that our lives are, we have it easy. Here is a person who is really a special soul, a massive Talmud Chacham of the highest, a Hasidic Rebbe, on, and from the time that he was a young man till the end of his life, he was a wanted man. He was a man on the run. Look, when he was a young man, he was a litvak. He wasn't a chassid. And all of a sudden, he's exposed to the Maggid of Mezrich. Now, that was a very earth-shattering, or better said, a mind-shattering revolution in this individual, because the more you are disciplined in a certain way of Torah, the more it's hard to not leave it, but to change that or to upgrade it, okay? It is. A Litvak thinks in a certain way, and a Yeker, a German Jew, thinks in a certain way, and a Sephardic Jew thinks in a third way, and a Hasidic Jew, they all think in different ways. We're all Yidden and we're all fine, but I always say this, you got to go back to culture. If you want to understand a person and a community, you have to look at the culture. People don't put enough emphasis on it. That's something that I've dedicated myself in my books, to always study the culture, to understand the broader situation for what we have today. So the Balatanya's culture, before coming to the Maggid, was a Litvak. The previous Rebbe writes in a talk, Velvel, he writes there that he kind of didn't like or hated simple people like the Litvaks at the time. Why? Because if you weren't learned, you didn't know Gemara, you didn't know Talmud, you didn't know Torah, you were a nothing. The Alter Rebbe had that mindset. It's when I read that the first time, I had a hard time relating to it. But that's what it says, and I understand it now. So that's one transformation. Then he's about to leave the Maggid because they're learning too much Kabbalah, and he's not ready to give up his study of Talmud. And he decides to stay. That's another transformation. Then starts the whole parsha with the Hasidim and the Misnagdim, and he's part of it. And it was vicious, okay? Today we could talk about it and laugh about it and write about it in the books. But during that time, it was a vicious machlokes. It wasn't just two opinions, guys. It was a fight. And if you read the history, your hair will stand up. Just read certain books. You wouldn't believe that what was going on, the fighting and the animosity, the informing on each other. It was gefährlich, okay? So he's part of that genre at the time. Then he's appointed by Reb Mendel of Vitebsk and Reb Avram of Kalisk as the leader. So his Rebbe's kind of leave him. They go to Eretz Yisrael, and he's left alone. Then the same person who appoints him, Reb Avram, becomes his opponent. Then we have the whole issue of Yutas Kislev, where he's informed on that he's funding the Turks against the Tsar and all that. Okay, you would think now, Yutas Kislev, 1797, he's a free man. Now he can coast, right? You're out of jail, you can coast. What happens? 2 years later, again, he's put into jail in Tovkuf Samachalev in 1801 approximately. And then, towards the end of his life, Napoleon decides to chase him and get him, and understands that he is the leader of many, many Jews in Russia. And he's on the run, and he dies. He passes away, I should say. He passes away on the road. So he's not buried in Liadi, right? The Alter Rebbe began in Liozhne. He was called the Lozhne Magid, and then he moved to Liadi. But he had to run away from Liadi. That's why he's called the Reb Shneur Zalman of Liadi. He runs away from Liadi, and he passes away on the road, and they bury him in Hadich. I think Moshe Braun was there. I don't know if any of you were there. Yonia might have been there. Anyway, right? That means he wasn't. Yeah, you were there. So he wasn't buried in his hometown because he was on the run. Now, you tell me this type of life, and like, why couldn't he have some peace the last 5 years of his life? So we don't understand God's ways. But one thing we know is that this person who wrote the Tanya, who founded Chabad movement, the Chabad philosophy, and Chabad Hasidus, took everything in the right way. He didn't seek Bikesh. He didn't seek Bikesh because he had plenty of Rugzer Shel Yosef. He had plenty of wrath and chaos from Joseph. And I don't mean his sons, although one of his sons, Moshe, had a bout later in his life with health, and that caused issues, and I'm sure it was very painful to the father. Although, truth be said, it really came out after the Alter Rebbe passed away. The story with Rav Moshe, the Alter Rebbe's son, I think was in 1820. The Alter Rebbe passed away in 1812. But nevertheless, and all of these issues are Rugzer Shel Yosef. So, when we fabreing and we talk about Yutas Kislev, the Tanya that we've been learning and we continue to study, and Mitzvah Hashem, we will finish it one day from cover to cover, believe Ned with Hashem's help, gives a Yid ways to counter this chaos and to stay cool, to stay focused. It's a fabrengen, so we can share a sharp word. There's an expression in Yiddish which goes like this: Verlier nicht die Hosen. In English, don't lose your pants. In other words, Velvel. In other words, oi, tzores, this, that, you lose your pants. In other words, that's it. I might as well take off my pants. That idea. So in Yiddish, the expression goes well. In English, it doesn't. Verlier nicht die Hosen. Don't lose your pants. Stay focused. Come on. It's easier said than done. We know that. But this is why we study Chassidus. And we continue to study Chassidus. And we need to study more Chassidus. Chassidus is an antidote to all of these issues. I'm telling you. We've seen people that were down and very down, and they came back, and they came back strong, and they came back with families and with students because they studied Chassidus. Now let me bring you up to part of what's going on today and how this is tied into the Alter Rebbe. Today, there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of non-Chabad Hasidim that are learning Chabad Hasidus. From the Polish-Hungarian Hasidim to the Kippa Sruga Mizrahi Magdal people, learning seriously Chassidus, Chabad. In addition to other Chassidus too. We're talking about now Chabad. This is a feather in the cap, not just to the Alter Rebbe, but to our Rebbe, who was his successor, the 7th Rebbe of Lubavitch. Because the Rebbe, coming to America in 1941, and seeing the situation here, together with his father-in-law, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, the 6th Rebbe, who at the time was already an ill man, the Rebbe took all of these ideas to another level, and particularly he opened it up through translating Sfarim, Chassidus Sfarim in English, in different languages, and of course sending shluchim worldwide, beginning from the 1950, 51, to Morocco, North Africa, and then started in America in 1958 to Detroit, etc., etc. So all of this, you would think, okay, those that are interested in Chabad. Well, you all know, you're sitting here, you all have and had involvement in Lubavitch and Chabad, and you know what I'm talking about. I always repeat the story. When I came to Bet Shemesh in 2017, I believe, and Reb Shmuel, who we need to always thank for making this kollel happen. So he said, why don't you get to know some of the Rabbanim here? So that's where I met Rabbi Melinowitz Silver Sholem, and I met Rabbi Chaim Soloveitchik, and various Rabbanim. And I remember I had to speak, I think it was Rabbi Melinowitz's shul. It was an August day. I think I was staying with Shmuel, and I had to walk up this hill. It was scorching hot, 90 to 100 degrees. It was, and I didn't carry, whatever, if I try to avoid carrying if I don't have to on Shabbos. And I passed the playground, and I saw there a grandmother with a mother with a young girl playing on the swings. And they had some water, and she offered me some water, and I said, sure, I'll take some water. And she told me, I'm always thankful to Chabad in Cleveland because the shliach, the Rav there, made me part of his household, and I became a Balas Tshuva there. I'm not Chabad today. My husband's not Chabad, but I know what Chabad is. That was in 2017, my introduction kind of to Bet Shemesh. And then getting to know all of you and all the people and all in Eish Kodesh and everything, this just became more and more, and it was very clear. So what's my point? My point is that Tanya and Chabad Hasidus isn't just for Chabadniks. It's such a big mistake. And if we could all together kind of get this through to other people, you don't have to be a Chabadnik, a Lubavitcher, for that matter, a Chassid, to study Tanya. There are Litvaks and Misnagdim, if there are no Misnagdim today, the Rebbe says, but Litvaks that learn Tanya, learn Chassidus Chabad. It's a limud that lends itself to accepting the reality of Rugza Shel Yosef and dealing with it properly. And I want to add another point. There's a difference between Bikesh Yaakov and being a Mevakesh. By putting that mem, which is a conjunction, in front of the word Beis Kufshin, Bikesh, you get the word Mevakesh. Mevakesh means to search. Someone who has a quest. Someone who is searching. A Jew should be a Mevakesh. I'm always searching for the truth. I'm always searching for more. I'm always willing to listen. Whether it's my custom or not, I want to hear. I want to be informed. A Mevakesh. So a Mevakesh is a kind of pula Tmidis, we call an ongoing activity. If anyone says they're already done, they know their derech, You know that, no. Of course, every person has a derech, has an approach, and all that. But be open to hearing. And the same, I always say, and I put it in my books, the Chabadniks have to be open to other approaches. It doesn't work one way. It's a two-way street. And anyone that's closed-minded is closed-minded. And I'll be the first one to say it, whether you throw rocks at me or not. Okay? You don't have to give away what you believe for yourself is the right derech, but listen to everybody. There's different drachim. That's what makes our Jewish community so wonderful. The different minhagim, from the Sfardim to the Mekubalim to the Hasidim to the Litvisha, it's such a colorful opportunity. Yes, again, that doesn't mean that you should be changing every minute or having 75 minhagim and confuse your kids and grandkids. No. But the overall idea, be informed, be studied. When the Rebbe, when the previous Rebbe told the older Hasidim to go greet the Rebbe when he came off the boat in 1941 with his Rebbe, the Rebbe Chaim Mushka, the Rebbe said to the Hasidim, go greet my son-in-law who's a Baki in Shas, Bavli Yerushalmi. He knows the entire Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud and Jerusalem Talmud, the entire Shulchan Aruch, and all printed Hasidic books. He didn't say all printed Chabad books. All printed Hasidic books, whatever there was at the time. Sfasemis. Avasholem. Nesiva Sholem. Whatever there was. I don't know what there was out there. There wasn't much out there. So, Yutas Kislev, this explains another issue, is in Chabad we call it Chag HaChagim, the festival of all festivals. I remind myself of what my father-in-law, Vasholem, told me. My father-in-law was a Chabad Chosid from centuries, from Russia, Ukraine, and he lived in Kharkov. He was born and raised in Kharkov, where there's all this bombing today. That's where he's from. So I once asked him, how did you and Hasidim celebrate Yutas Kislev? It wasn't, you had to go to work to have a piece of bread in the 1930s. Talking about 35, 36, 37. You didn't go to work because of Yutas Kislev, you were in trouble. So I asked him, how did you celebrate? How did you guys celebrate? He says, whoever needed to go to work went to work. But one thing, the shul was open, there was l'chaim, and someone made kasha, because it's customary to eat schwarze kasha, kasha, buckwheat. Buckwheat, thank you. Buckwheat. Yeah, schwarze buckwheat, because the Alter Rebbe ate that in the cell over there. So someone made kasha and brought kasha. And what else? We were dancing and singing and being happy. No drushes, no sermons, just being happy. We are Hasidim. That's what he told me. I'm repeating to you what he told me. Okay? That was Yutas Kislev in Kharkov in the 1930s, which he himself, as a young boy, experienced. So that's what the day is about. Being happy that you have the schus to celebrate Yutas Kislev. And this is why we're fabringing, and this is why we're together. I heard a story just yesterday that I want to share because it's a good story to think about. The fifth Rebbe, Reb Sholem Ber of Lubavitch, was someone who was very involved in communal work, helping Yidden throughout Russia, Ukraine, etc., and also in study of Chassidus, deep study of Chassidus. His discourses, as I've told you over the years, is very articulate, and he was called the Rambam of Chassidus, very analytical. And it was very hard to kind of get him to have a private minute with him. It wasn't easy. He had certain times, and even that, it wasn't easy. Someone wasn't well, and he was very ill, and he needed a bracha, and he wanted a bracha from the Rebbe The Rebbe should bless him, Moshe, that he should become healthy. Well, he should. But he couldn't get to see the Rebbe and have this one-on-one short conversation. So someone said to him, you know what? When the Rebbe goes to the bathroom, and he comes out, maybe then you'll have a few minutes to talk to him privately and ask for a bracha. So he waited for the Rebbe to go to the bathroom. He waited outside, and the Rashab made a bracha. Baruch Ato Hashem, Reifei Chol Baso Mafli Lasois. This is the blessing we make after we go to the bathroom. Blessed is Hashem, who heals all flesh. And he said, Amen. He heard the Rebbe make the bracha, and the bracha is about healing, and he said, Amen. He didn't speak to the Rebbe, and he was healed. A very powerful story. Sometimes you ask, I need to hear a bracha from the Rebbe, to me personally, right? Now, those of us who are, Lubavitch Chassidim, so unless you are on a, spiritual level where you can hear sounds and voices, the average person, even standing by the Rebbe, the oil, doesn't hear. I want to hear. So first of all, you want to hear is also a shtickle yesh. You want to hear. Obviously, God doesn't want you to hear now. You, who are Chabad Chassid, in this situation, for whatever it is, that's the way it is. But even if we don't accept that, or we don't like that, or we don't want that, there are ways of hearing. With the Rashab, he said the bracha, and this person who was ill who heard it. Okay, that's one form. For us today, if you study Tairos HaChasidus, which we do, and you write to the Rebbe, to the oil, you talk to Hashem, and you have him in mind, trust me, if you're focused, you will hear. You will hear not maybe a physical voice, but you will get an answer. It will resonate that you will get an answer. Now, whether you like the answer or not, it's another question. Hopefully, it pacifies you so that your self feels good about it too. Fine. But the point is, this ties in with what I said in the beginning. Bikish Yaakov Leisha B'Shalva. I'm a chassid. I'm learning chassidus. I want a Rebbe to see and hear. God, what are you doing? Everyone has a Rebbe in Lubavitch Chassidim who are so, prominent and large and and do so much for Jews, and they don't have a living Rebbe, at least not in the sense you can hear and see him. It's not fair. That's the problem. Bikish. Who are you to say it's not fair? God says it is fair, and you say it's not fair. Together with accepting, you need to be memafakish. You need to daven and learn that Mashiach should come, and the Rebbe and all other tzaddikim, there should be Tchias HaMeisim and all of our parents, on and on should be the resurrection of dead, and Mashiach should go full force with that in a normal way, not in an outrageous, cuckoo way, in a way that makes sense for Jews and people can handle it and relate to it, right? So with the Rashab, it was listening to his bracha Vasha Yotzer. And with our Rebbe, I can tell you, being focused and thinking about him will help you. After the previous Rebbe passed away, the Rebbe told Rabbi Moshe Herson, he's 90 years old, maybe he's the head shliach of New Jersey. He was from Brazil. He was born in 34, right? Or so, 35, whatever. And he came in 1951, so he was 16 years old or something, young man. And that year, the Rebbe spoke to him privately, and the Rebbe said, you should have a picture of the previous Rebbe with you, and from time to, or in your wallet, he said that, and from time to time, you should look at the picture. Trust me, the Rebbe wasn't into this voodoo stuff and cuckoo stuff, But this gives a chassid chizuk. This gives connection. So whether it's having a picture in your house, whether it's carrying a picture with you, again, I'm not going to tell you must have a picture. You find the way that you relate to and what lifts you up. But then the idea behind the picture is, I want you to think about this tzaddik that you are relating to, that he is there for you today. So we come all around and we conclude the Farbrengen in a manner that it's Pod of Shalom Nafshi, the famous Posik in Tehillim, and the song that and we end the Nigen, Vani Eftach Boch, David HaMelech. King David says, I trust in you, Hashem. Always remember, Bitochen in Hashem. Chevre, I'm sure you guys are having Farbrengens, whether it be in Eretz Yisrael, Bet Shemesh, whether it be in Velvel in Germany, whether it be in Fort Lauderdale or wherever.
Kiddush Farbrengen.
Okay, you're having a Kiddush Farbrengen, but make sure you speak about Yutas Kislev Yoini, and go to a Farbrengen, whether it's a Kiddush, whether it's tonight, Motzei Shabbos. They have also, I think, these big book fair in Binyanei Humar, someone in Yerushalayim. So, participate. And not only yourselves. There must be a program for women and children. It should be, like I said, just to be happy. Find ways to be happy and share the happiness with others. Have a great Shabbos. We'll see everyone Monday. Mr. Hashem, we're starting chapter 14 in Tanya Kadisha. Zay Gesund. Shalom. Bye. Good Yom Tov, good Yom Tov, good Yom Tov, good Yom Tov, good Yom Tov.